Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my! It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Psychic medium Helene Olsen and paranormal researcher Patricia Baker. Here are Supernatural Girls.
And thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I am Helene Olsen, and you can find me and connect with me at my website, angelslighthouse.com, and would also like everybody to go on over to supernaturalgirlswithaz.com and please sign up for the free newsletter that Patricia produces every single week. It's just lovely. And from that list, we'll be choosing winners of books and so forth in the weeks to come. So you have to make sure and put your name over there. But I have an announcement this evening. I have loved doing this radio show with my delightful partner in crime, Patricia Baker. And right now I feel it's necessary to take my leave from the radio show. I am blessedly overstretched with work and all kinds of family obligations. So at this time I think it's necessary to streamline my time so I have a little bit left for me. And with the holidays coming up and so forth, I'm leaving the show in the extraordinarily capable hands of Patricia. Patricia, are you there?
I am right here, and it's so sad to know that you're leaving, but I know you're going to be doing even more exciting things and also taking care of your family, which comes first. So all that's good.
But we also have a couple of projects in the back scene, and, that's all good, too. So, I think it's going to work out great, and you're amazing, Patricia. So,
well, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you on the show and, listening to all of your insight and everything that you have to offer to all of our guests and our audience.
Well, I'll be here for 2 more episodes, and I'm happy to do it. It's going to be great. And you find the guests most of the time, Patricia, and they're always delightful. We always have some really, really interesting people on. So it's going to continue the same way. And I think, our radio audience is awesome, and we've built a nice thing here, and it's good, Just going on and on.
Yes, we'll keep on trucking here with Supernatural Girls Radio, and it's going to continue to be, like you said, an exciting radio show. It has been since the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And unfortunately, time in the universe is limited for us humans, Patricia.
I know it. It is a challenge. And it seems like I honestly feel that time is just moving way too fast. I just turn around once, and the week is gone. I don't know where it went. And it just seems like everything is in major fast forward. So it's hard to keep up with everything.
It is, and I agree with you. I sit there and I look at it's 9 o'clock. I can get X amount done. I have to work. I have to do other things. And then before I know it, I turn around, it's 2 o'clock. It's almost like I lost 5 hours,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Missing time. And we can't even blame it on an alien abduction, Nothing exciting
I don't know.
Like that.
Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah.
Sometimes I really, really wonder. But for tonight, we don't want anyone to lose any time or space, so please call your questions in at 646-478-0828, and anyone who wishes to email me can do that through my website at angelslighthouse.com, and please also go over to supernaturalgirlswithaz.com, and please put your name on the newsletter list. It's just wonderful. You get a newsletter every week telling you about the upcoming guest and putting your name on the list for the free giveaways that will come up. So, yeah.
You can't pass that up. And also we have all kinds of coupon codes, like this past newsletter contained a coupon code for maxhealthlabs.com. And if you would like to go over to maxhealthlabs.com and put in Power Prep, you will get 10% off of anything you buy there. So that's another good reason to keep on signing up for the newsletter if you haven't already. You will get these types of coupons, and you can buy great things at a discount. So there you have it.
Well, you were telling me about that website and how awesome their product is. So
the product
I am ordering
really
with my discount coupon.
Yeah, it's a truly miraculous product. I mean, you know me, I've been into vitamins forever, and I've gotten to a point in my life where taking all those pills is more of a headache than it's worth. So I am happy to have something else, and these are liquid gel packages. They're simple, easy to take. They taste good, and they go right into your bloodstream and raise the levels of those vitamins. It's truly an amazing product, and all the information's on their website. So you can hear the show from Power Preppers last week at the archive, and we will continue doing all that great stuff, too. So make sure you sign up, supernaturalgirls.com. Now, I've got some paranormal news. Are you ready for my paranormal
go right
news?
ahead. Can I say something first, Patricia?
Yes.
We missed Becky and Jim last week, didn't we?
Oh, my God. Did we ever?
They are awesome, our awesome call screeners who help all the customers who call in. And, the listeners are great, but we need someone to help organize that for us. And they're just awesome. And we're so happy that Becky is on tonight. Jim will be back next week, I guess. And, we just really appreciate everything they donate and their time and their heart. Really.
It is much appreciated, absolutely. And they both do a fantastic job. And last week we kind of got stuck, and you did a fantastic job because Becky
was
not available. But then, of course, we had a million phone calls. So.
Well, it always works that way.
It does. It does. But a big thank you to Becky and Jim. They're the best.
Yeah, they are, and we appreciate them so much. It's awesome. But anyway, so you have paranormal news tonight, right?
I do. It's about Bigfoot. So there's this British geneticist. His name is Dr. Brian Sykes, and he's from the University of Oxford, and he has announced that two pelts that are said to belong to a Yeti match DNA from an ancient polar bear. So he proposes that ancient polar bears are still hiding in the rugged Himalayas, but that Yetis are, in fact, a bear species as of yet unknown to science. So it's an animal, according to him, with a peculiar blend of ancient polar bear and brown bear DNA. So he hasn't published his findings yet, but there is supposed to be a special broadcast on Sunday in the UK. Maybe we can get it here, too. So anyways, it's kind of interesting because there's been a lot said recently about the DNA of hair samples, and scientists here in the U.S. are saying it is a human hybrid. And he's saying it's a polar bear from an ancient time, not recent time. So now we have conflicting opinions from geneticists, so who knows? I don't know if we're going to figure this one out.
Did you see anything in the story that told where the hair sample came from? Like, was it ancient polar bear carcass that melted in the ice, or was it hairs on a bush, or what was it that they found?
It's a good question, and actually they put out a call for Yeti samples that could be tested. And so the two samples that were used in the research came from Ladakh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is an Indian region of the western Himalayas, and one from Bhutan, which is 800 miles to the east of that. The first sample was 40 years old, and the other was about a decade old. So this is fairly recent times.
But you know how the Iceman melted? I was wondering.
Oh, yeah. That was very
a similar situation, or if they specified exactly where they...
Yeah, they just said one was 40 years old and the other was a decade old, so that's what they're claiming. But the actual polar bear that they're linking to this lived 120,000 to 40,000 years ago.
Wow.
So another mystery yet unsolved.
Was the Yeti comparable to Bigfoot?
Yes, the pictures that I've seen, the artist rendering of the Yeti, they're white. And they've got some pretty big claws on them, red eyes. It is very similar to Bigfoot. There's just Bigfoot is brown.
Yeah,
So, but the Yeti, according to the things I've seen, is a white rendition of it. But I'd love to get to the bottom of that one. I just think it's fascinating. And I think they're real. I think they exist. It's just, what are they?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's been enough reports over them over a couple hundred years that there's something to it.
There's a lot to it. I mean, in fact, there was a report just one town over. And, it's when people are made to feel badly about what they're saying and they're called crazy or whatever, it dissuades other people that really have true accounts. So I'm glad to see that things are shifting and changing in our society so the paranormal is much more accepted than it ever was. But that's not how it was for our guests coming up, because their story broke in the 70s. So they kind of had it tough, because this story came out at a time when people really were kind of looking down their nose at the paranormal.
Yeah, and occult was very hidden and not something mainstream like it is today.
That's right.
Well, why don't we take a moment and welcome our guests, Edwin and Marcia Becker, on the air. You're live, Edwin and Marcia. Hello.
Good evening, ladies.
How are
Thanks
you
for coming on the show.
Yeah.
You're most welcome.
The book is excellent. I highly recommend it to everybody in our audience, because you have things in this book that have not been reported in other places. And you were kind enough to send me the Paranormal Witness show, which is going to air November 6th. And there's many more facts in the book than even came out in the show, although I must say the television show is fantastic. It's one of my favorites, Paranormal Witness, and I think they did a great job with your story. Was it fun to have it filmed?
Not really.
No?
It goes with the long story to the book. The book was supposed to be printed by my daughter. I didn't want it in my name. I didn't want to stick my head out in the paranormal world. I did not really know there was a paranormal world, so I never watched the cable channels or anything like that. She printed it in my name, and I sort of hid. But the book went to number 1 in the United Kingdom under parapsychology, which is where Paranormal Witness is located. They're Londoners.
No kidding.
They came after me, and with a lot of convincing, they moved their production company to St. Louis so I wouldn't have to travel far, because I'm kind of a recluse, and we did it there. And it was the first time I ever spoke publicly about the subject, or Marcia had too. We were lucky enough to find our first tenant, Dan White, who surfaced after the book was printed. And we asked him to join us, which he did. And it was emotional. At the end of it, I told the Londoners, I should pay him for therapy. It was very therapeutic. I mean, I had to stop the camera 2 or 3 times.
Really?
Because if you read the book, you knew it took us to a very low place, Marcia and I.
Mm-hmm. It did. I mean, this story is heart-wrenching in how it affected you all.
Yeah, and the Paranormal Witness people were just wonderful. I mean, we kind of knew up front that they're not going to put 21 months into 63 minutes.
Right.
In fact, initially it was planned for 42 minutes, and then they decided they couldn't do it in 42 minutes. But they were kind, and they informed us of the changes, and we kind of knew their priority was, like all these ghost shows, their priority is good TV.
It is good TV, I have to say. I mean, that was a very well-done show about your story, and I thought they did capture the main elements, and I really felt for you guys when I watched it. It was oh, my goodness, what you all went through. Oh.
Right.
Well, most of our family didn't know of this story, and when it aired, we all gathered, and I had a projection TV in the house we were in at that time, and it captured me. It made me well up when I saw the initial scenes, because I was that young man looking at this building and thinking, this is my future. I'm a landowner. I'm a landlord. We have a home. And it just all went south. It went bad really, really fast.
Well, let's start at the beginning then, because I tend to get ahead of everything, don't I, Helene?
Sometimes, but not usually. You're really good, Patricia.
Oh, thanks. Well, tell us from the beginning, because this is amazing how all of this happened, and it happened gradually. It didn't happen all at once, or the first day you moved in. It happened gradually, correct?
Yes. I think like most hauntings, if you bought a building, let's say, and something jumped out of the closet and screamed boo at you, and it was all ugly and spewing flames, you'd run.
Yes.
You'd run. You'd say, "This house is haunted," but they don't do that. And Marcia's going to tell you a little bit about how it started, because she was a believer and she was more sensitive than I was. What happened was, we'd been married 3 years, and she became pregnant, and we had never come up against the policies that were in those years. There was no such law governing landlords. So our landlord basically, when I announced the pregnancy, our landlord basically said, "Get out." And then I quickly found that we couldn't find an apartment because no one wanted children, especially infants, screaming infants. Now,
wow. So that was probably very unexpected from your landlady.
Yeah, and you got to kind of go back to 1970 when we didn't have rights. People didn't have rights. There were no communication devices. I mean, I've had people write me and say, "Well, why didn't you get some pictures on your phone and things like that?" We didn't have cell phones. You couldn't even own a phone. You had to lease it. It was covered by the FCC. Mm-hmm. So no communication devices. There were no throwaway diapers. We had to have a diaper service and a big pail of dirty diapers. And it was a totally different time. And I went out desperately and found this house in terrible need of repair. And I was a young man. I was naive. I never asked how many people had looked at the house and didn't buy it. Ghosts were not a factor. I mean, I don't think you could hear the word paranormal in 1970. There were no references whatsoever.
That's right. Yep.
And I was an inner city child. I came from a broken home. I spent some time in a children's home. I'd slept in dank basements, and I had been to spooky places, and there was no feeling that I felt in that house that was different than I had felt somewhere at some time during my childhood. So I felt like the cold rooms were a benefit, because you didn't have central air in a neighborhood where the buildings were built in 1890, and they once held funerals in the front rooms. You had to have a window air conditioner, and so we had a couple really, really cool rooms, and I thought that was a benefit. And much like Paranormal Witness, there was one of the family, she was the eldest daughter, was still living there. I referred to her as Myra. And she greeted us much like Paranormal Witness. When I walked in with the real estate man, she came flying out the door, angrier than hell. She had a poodle on her shoulder like it was a familiar. I can't even describe her. I mean, the Myra that they used in Paranormal Witness was a lovable old lady compared to the real Myra.
Oh, my goodness, really? Because that woman just seemed like she was just the nastiest thing in the world. So to imagine somebody even worse, and that's what...
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, picture somebody a little more rabid and filthy.
But Edwin... but Edwin, what I need to understand is Myra was the last surviving heir of the family that built that house. And why was she so antagonistic? She did not want to sell the house? How did the house come to sale if she was there?
I don't know. I do know that we went to the closing, and there were 5 heirs, and they all had their own attorneys. Plus, there was an attorney representing Myra.
So it wasn't in her sole ownership. Okay.
Apparently not. And
okay.
There was a lot of hatred that we witnessed at the closing. I mean, they got into an argument over $2 and change over some pictures.
Wow.
So they were a hateful family. And Myra, I mean, you didn't have to be that bright to talk to her and realize she was completely insane.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my.
She was so insane. I mean, my contingency was I was afraid Marcia would come in contact with her and it would scare the hell out of her.
Mm-hmm.
So I said she had to be gone from the building at closing. And they couldn't figure out where to put her. So they came back to me and they said, will you keep her here for at least 90 days? And I made them pay me in advance, which actually allowed me to close the sale. I didn't have enough at closing. So she stayed with us for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a filthy mouth, and she sort of tipped us off. But I was naive. Every time she said, we don't want you here, we don't want you, I remember her telling me that many, many times. I thought she's always talking about her and her poodle.
Hmm.
You know, she cradled this poodle, and the poodle would nip at her hair like she had fleas. So I bought this building, and in those years, a woman's signature was no good on a mortgage or for income purposes. It was a lot different than it is today. And Marcia trusted me, and I bought the building, and I was fearful after I bought it because Marcia had come from Tulsa. At the time, Tulsa was 250,000 people, flat, clean. And here I bought this building in the inner city in a neighborhood that was kind of going downhill. And everything very close together, lots of population. And I had to take her to see it. And I'll let her tell you what she saw.
Well, what I saw was a broken down house. But at the same time, we were really young. And the feeling was we could fix anything. You know, a little paint, some flowers, and it's going to look like brand new. And it'll be ours. So I was really trying to stay positive and find something positive about the house. And we walked, I was holding Christine, and we walked to the front door. And I started to knock, you know, and Ed said, what are you doing? And I said, well, you know, I don't know, knocking on the door. And he said, no, this is our house. And I just could not wrap my head around that. It just didn't feel like our house. So we stepped in, and we went up these very dark, steep stairs to get to the second floor. And with every step, I felt bad. This was not something we should be doing. And we got to the front door of the apartment, and Ed unlocked it. I actually had trouble walking over the steps. I mean, just walking over that. It was like a high step to walk over to get in. The old houses were built weird, so you never knew what you were going to find. And I did. I went in, and I looked around, and I thought, oh, God, something's not right. I don't feel right here. And it wasn't the dirt or anything like that. That can be cleaned. It was just something very forbidding. And I felt like I should get out and run as fast as I could. But I didn't want to hurt Ed's feelings. It took a lot for him to get this house.
My interpretation was that the apartment, of course, I didn't walk her through Myra's, and I guided her past that door very quickly, hoping that she wasn't going to pop out, you know. She would have scared Marcia to death.
Yeah.
But we went to look at the second floor, which is where we were going to live, and it had been ransacked. I mean, it was obvious the family was looking for money or belongings. I mean, the upholstered furniture that was left was cut open. Stuff was all over the floor. And much like Marcia said, the building was a little... It wasn't strange for Chicago. It was originally built at ground level, and then they lifted it, and they poured in a basement, sort of a crude basement, It had a low ceiling. I'm 6'3", and the beams were at 6 foot, so I always had to be ducking, or else I'd whack myself in the head.
Well, I'm under 5 foot, so it didn't bother me.
So here,
okay.
Edwin was willing to go ahead with this with no problem. He felt comfortable. But, Marcia, you did have that sense of forbidding, and that the house didn't want you there, or something didn't want you there.
No, it did not. It did not want us there. But, we just had no other choice. And I knew this. So, again, I just kept quiet. And actually, on moving day, when we left there, and I kept thinking, I'm tired. It's my imagination. And on actual moving day, paranormal witness showed it happy, 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 and the furniture going in, and no, it wasn't that way at all. And I'm upstairs cleaning as fast as I can before the furniture gets put down, and just trying to keep busy and keep my mind off how I was feeling. But I constantly felt like somebody was watching. And I'd look around, there's nobody there. And we were unpacking, and I would put something down and go into another room to do something, come back, and it was in a different place. So this went on. It was just a constant thing throughout the day. And I thought, boy, I really am tired. I'm not even remembering where I'm putting things. And, you really do try to rationalize. And you try very hard to think of anything else it could be but that. And but after a while, there just was no denying it. I think I knew from the beginning. It's just that I didn't want to believe it. And it was so, the air in that place changed every day. From minute to minute to hour. Sometimes you couldn't breathe. Sometimes it was thick. Other times it was cold. It was just a constant. And I thought, well, it's an old building. It's not ventilated well.
I'm sure both of you know the feeling of the heavy air. And
today
I took it as stale.
Today, in spirituality and people listening to all the paranormal programming and all the information and books and videos and YouTube that's out there, it's very clear that every single person is intuitive. And how we know that, whether they think they're psychic or not, is by the simple example of when you walk into a house or an apartment that you're thinking about living in, you know right away whether you want to live there or not. You get that vibe in your gut that absolutely tells you, no matter how pretty it is, you go, this doesn't really sit right with me somehow. And that's why some houses never sell very easily, or some apartments are not rented very easily, and then conversely, if it is right. And so back in 1970, the world was a completely different place. I don't think this information was readily available to people, right? And so you were in a situation where you had to do this, and I get it.
Yeah, no, there was no information. This is before Amityville, before The Exorcist, before people started even looking at the paranormal. We had Casper, and we had the Ghost and Mrs. Muir. As references.
And they were
it was all lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was
so
all lovely.
When Marcia first started telling me of these things, my attitude was, well, we've been living footloose and fancy-free for 3 years. Now she's stuck at home. She just had a baby. She's going through these hormonal chemical changes. I think she's going a little wacko. That was my attitude. I put her through hell. The hell I put her through is not in my book. But I did put her through terrible, terrible times because my answer was just BS. That ain't happening. And like any non-believer, even if I was aware that something happened, I rationalized it. Our cat did it. Our dog did it. The wind did it. The house is old. It's creaking. You weren't thinking. You put it down over there, and you only thought you did it over there. I had an answer for everything for a number of months.
Correct.
I put her through hell.
So what was the turning point for you when Your poor wife is undergoing all of these things. She's witnessing things and seeing these things on a daily basis. You're at work. You're coming home and hearing about it and telling her she's full of it. What turned your mind in a different direction?
Patricia, can we answer this question after the break?
Yeah, let's take a break and come back to that answer.
I want to hear a long answer on that turning point because it's got to be exciting.
Oh, gosh.
It is going to be a long answer.
Okay, perfect then, Helene. Yeah, let's take a break. If anybody has a question for Edwin and Marcia, please call 646-478-0828.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
For staying tuned as we listen to Edwin and Marcia Becker's fascinating true story of true haunting in their home. And where we left off was asking Edwin where his turning point in belief was.
It took me a while. I mean, the first few months, I didn't recognize anything, and I really thought Marcia was losing it. In fact, it scared me. It wasn't until we had our daughter christened, and Paranormal Witness did not really portray that correctly, because we had about 14 people there. And the priest came in. Unfortunately, I had walked with him from the rectory after we changed into some clothes, and he got his stole. And when we walked up to the building, Myra popped out, and she started swearing at him. And I mean, just the filthiest, obscene language.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, by then, I had known the only way to handle Myra, and it wasn't my nature, because I was taught to respect my elders, and you certainly don't yell at women. But I had to yell back. So the priest is witnessing me yelling back in foul language, Myra yelling at me, and I almost had to push her back into her apartment. We then went upstairs, and my family had heard some of it, and they're kind of wondering what's going on. The priest came in, and although we had the day scheduled for him to bless the house and then eat dinner with us, eat lunch with us, I kind of knew he wasn't going to do that already. So he walked into the living room, and he said, I'm going to start the house blessing. He put his stole on, and he took out his utensil for the holy water, which I was familiar with. I was an old Latin altar boy. He raised his hand, and the thing shattered. I mean, it wasn't like in a horror movie where you heard a big boom or something. The utensil just fell into pieces.
And now this was made out of brass, right?
Yeah, yes, brass. And I had never seen brass shattered, even if it was dropped. So he was picking up the pieces nervously. My family is looking around like, what the heck just happened? And then he said, I have to go. And I said, no, you have to bless my daughter's room at least. I knew what a house blessing was. I'd been through many, many times. And I actually had to grab him by the shoulder and say, bless my daughter's room, which he did do. And then what they didn't show in Paranormal Witness, because I don't think they want any laughs or smiles, our closet door was identical to the door that led to the hallway. He actually walked into the closet.
Oh my.
And all my family are biting their lip to keep from laughing. We didn't know what the hell was going on. And he ran out, and I had the donation, which was traditional. I had to chase him down the stairs, and I handed it to him. As I describe in the book, it was like a baton. He didn't turn and look at me. He put his hand back like if he was going to grab the baton. I handed him the envelope, and he was gone. And that kind of made me think, but it wasn't a factor. It just was confusing to me. And it wasn't until I asked him to come back. Later on, I kept calling him, and he refused to come back. Then it started to compile with other things. Probably the first thing, and this is something that I had written an article about, not letting paranormal get between spouses, because it worked on Marcia and I. I would call home, and I would ask, I'd try to call home, want to talk to my wife, and the phone would be busy. Now, this is a year when you paid for local units. There was no area codes. Everything was very expensive. Mm-hmm. We were living hand to mouth. So I'd come home, and I'd be aggravated at her. And I would say, we're going to get this phone bill. Who's going to pay the damn phone bill? And she'd look at me dumbfounded, like, what the heck am I talking about? And the phone would be off the hook. And then she'd say, well, somebody must have took it off the hook.
So you'd be trying to call her, and you'd be getting a busy signal.
Yeah, and this went on, and I really thought she was giving me a bunch of BS. But I figured at this point, what I'm going to do is wait till we get the phone bill, because in those days they gave you the detail of all the numbers called and all the units.
Oh, that's right.
And I figured You can't deny that. So for a month or so, until we got that first bill, I'm walking around in a huff, all upset, thinking, boy, I'm going to get you when this bill comes in. I'm just going to throw a screamer, and
Marcia, you are one tolerant lady.
I suppose.
She knows how to hurt me. As small as she is, she can hurt me.
Oh, I bet.
But I'm thinking this, and our attitude toward each other was changing, and the next thing it did was my bathtub. I mean, we had this one. I worked a lot of hours, and then when I come home, I'd go down the basement or the garage, and I'd be cleaning and working and patching, and it was an endless job, this house. But the first half hour of the day was one where her and I would sit in the kitchen and have coffee, and it was the best half hour of the day. But I would start my bath water, and then I would go in the kitchen and drink my coffee. I started coming back to my bathtub, and the bathtub plug was wrapped around the faucet.
So the water
just drained out.
Yeah, and I had to take a tepid or a cold bath, and I didn't like that. We had no shower in that place. So I, being, a non-believer and everything, I figured it's Chicago. The pipes are 100 years old. Sewer gas probably blew the plug out, and where would it go? It's attached to the chain on the faucet. It would wrap itself around. So I had a logical answer for it. But over time, what wasn't logical was I started sitting there watching it because it only seemed to do it when I wasn't there. So now that had my curiosity. I started to think that, that's really, really strange. Then came the animals. When you have, I knew dogs. Marcia was a cat person, and we had a little kitty that actually lived with us for 17 years. She made it through it, but the dogs didn't. But our dog started growling, looking at places where there was nothing, and acting like it was kind of a shepherd collie, kind of wolf-like looking, and the hair on its back would go up. It'd put its throat to the ground, like he's ready to defend himself. And she'd be growling like she's ready to attack and defend herself. And it's kind of spooky when you watch an animal do that. Although I know animals can easily see these things. They can see what we see as orbs. Yeah. I've got a picture of one on my Facebook, in fact, of our Shih Tzu evaluating an orb. She's looking at it, and she's got her tail down. But in those years, all I knew is our animals, all of a sudden, Kitty comes running out of the front room with her tail all flooded out, and she's hissing, and, I don't see anything there. So now I'm starting to scratch my head, and I got the phone, and I got my bathtub plug, and I got the animals, and I started, much like Paranormal Witness, I did find a shed in the basement. And me and my 14-year-old brother, and logically I should have known something was wrong because the whole house had been ransacked, but somehow this wooden partition shed had a padlock on it, and it was untouched.
So before you go into the basement, I just have a question. Then was Marcia exonerated with the phone bill?
Not yet. Not yet.
That took a while.
That took like a month and a half before we got the first one. But in the meantime, I'm quizzing the neighbors, and I found two neighbors that actually started feeding me things I wasn't going to tell Marcia. It was like, oh my God, I come to the conclusion that the whole family was insane.
The family that lived there before.
Yeah. Now, whether they were insane or driven insane, because I did find the Ouija board. The first day we took occupation, I found it, and I tore it up and threw it away. I threw it away not because of what it was, but because I had no use for it. I didn't see any purpose in it. So I wasn't afraid of it or anything like that. But my brother and I went down the basement, and the basement was someplace that Marcia took one step into when I bought the place and said she would never return.
Nope. And I did not.
And I'd go down there, and I would feel, today I'd recognize it immediately if it took over me, but I would feel instant agitation. So I'd go down to the basement, and my fight or flight would kick in, and my fight overtook my flight, and it was like I'd be ready for something at all times. I don't know. I couldn't explain it. But we found this shed, and we broke the padlock. And in this shed, Paranormal Witness would have had to spend a fortune to recreate it because it was full of pornographic magazines, early pornography, so it was kind of lame, really, compared to today. And nudist magazines that went way back. And on the back wall were about 30 to 40 shoe boxes. And the shoe boxes, when I thought, well, maybe there's coins, treasure, who knows? Every box was the same. It was filled with strips of paper that were cut about the size of baseball cards, rubber banded around in stacks in each box, and there were pictures of women, body parts, female body parts. They could be cartoons, they could be pictures. We're talking tens of thousands.
How bizarre.
Yeah, and even my little brother, who was 14, he was with me at the time, he said, Ed, this guy is really sick. Well, his name was on everything. I called him Ben. And so as time went on, I started complaining to Ben about everything. I found myself talking to myself. I'd say, Ben, look at this damn basement. Why didn't you people clean it up? And it was hilarious 42 years later when Dan and I were not landlord-tenant any longer, and we could talk as men experiencing something. And honestly, he said to me, he thought I was this big, crazy guy. He said from the first floor, he'd look down the basement, he'd hear me. He said, and all he saw was this big guy kind of hunched over, which I had to do because I was taller than the beams, talking to himself. And he said, you'd be talking angry, and that's all he saw. And when the things started happening in his apartment, he blamed me. So he thought I was stealing his tools. He thought I was moving stuff. He thought I was turning off his electricity. But eventually I came to the conclusion, I did get the phone bill, and I realized, holy crap, we're dealing with something. But it did not frighten me. I came from a family that never owned anything, so this was my house and my domain. And if I was going to fear anything, it would be people. It wasn't going to be a bag of air. And that was my attitude. What I tell people is I was a bad Zach Baggins before Zach Baggins was born. I would yell at it. I would scream.
But now Marsha's getting it from all sides because you're not afraid and you're like, this is my domain. But Marsha's at home all day experiencing all of these poltergeist phenomena and other things. And then you're blaming her for yakking on the phone and driving up the phone bill and doing things that she didn't do. So, Marsha,
exactly.
What was that like for you?
That was extremely frustrating. And, it got worse than that. It was sort of like standing in a big room and there's a bunch of people and nobody's listening to you. And it was so frustrating. I just couldn't find anybody to talk to or to help or give me an idea of what to do. And honestly, I just sort of made a place, a hidey hole in the kitchen. And, the baby and I stayed in there. And I couldn't figure that out after we started thinking about it because people asked me that question. And I thought about it because the kitchen was certainly just as haunted as the rest of the house, maybe more so in some ways. I think there was more activity at times. It just loved to play games. And turn the stove off and on, the water off and on, move my broom, open the refrigerator door, leave that open the cabinet door, and dishes would come flying out. Luckily, in those days, dishes were sort of a plastic material, And
they were melamine, fancy name for plastic. But we got them for free. If you bought so much groceries, you get a plate.
We need free.
When Paranormal Witness showed the scene, we laughed our butts off because, Marcia was actually describing the hand mixer,
right?
And they played flying broken dishes, and we were laughing because if the dishes would have been flying, they would have been like frisbees. They wouldn't have broke. They would have been shooting all over the house.
No, it would have been awful. I think the reason was that because there were a lot of windows and an enclosed back porch was also a wall of windows, and I could see outside. It somehow kept me grounded to see the sun and the trees and normal life going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the scariest.
And a door.
Oh yeah, see that helps. But one of the scariest scenes in Paranormal Witness and watching your story from me was when your downstairs tenant had her baby in the stroller. Was it the stroller?
Yes,
Not a stroller.
I would like to please talk about that.
That
the way they portrayed it.
Because all of a sudden, I've explained to the audience, well, why don't you explain to the audience what happened with that? Because the baby was tiny, and there's no way the baby could move this thing by himself.
No, our babies were much too young, and they didn't have that mobility. And even if they had, her baby was so adorable. It was petite and just precious. And it did not reach the floor. And so it showed us having coffee and yakking, and I'm watching this thing go towards the stairs. No, that isn't what happened at all. She had come to look at the apartment. It was vacant except for a kitchen table, a very old kitchen table. Why that was left, I don't know, but it was. So I put my baby on, I had her in one of these little carry-all plastic things, and I put her on the table where I keep an eye on her. And we were discussing the rent and different things and when she wanted to move in. And I happened to get a funny feeling, and I turned around and saw the walker that was just maybe an inch. I never moved so fast in my life. It felt like a football field. It felt like it was so far away, but I reached her just as the walker came off onto above the stairs like it was flying. I grabbed the back of it, and I pulled her back. And I just was shaking because I was so afraid I'd hurt her, like, her neck or something, pulling that fast. But if she had gone down the stairs, there's no doubt she would have been seriously hurt. It was quite a ways down. And so for people who think I just sat there and watched it roll, no, I moved immediately when I saw that stroller. So one thing I said, go find the door. It must be in the basement somewhere. And please put it back on. I can't let them move in until that door's on. And lock it. I don't care. But, boy, just the thought of that they could move something like that shook me up even more, because then how safe would my baby be just playing with her toys or, in her high chair? If they can move things like that, until that time, everything scared me, but this absolutely, I almost went insane thinking about it.
Now, I didn't witness that, and Marcia didn't tell me.
No.
Because she knew that I was just going to say, BS,
I was getting a little tired of that.
I tortured her. And I can talk about it today because I've had plenty of time talking about it. But when I told the story on Paranormal Witness, I actually had to stop the camera because at this point, I started feeling just severe guilt. It was like I knew something was happening. I wasn't personally afraid, but I knew Marcia was.
Yes.
And I had to leave her there all day. And as a man, I felt I couldn't protect her from whatever this was. Although in the back of my mind, I didn't think it was that dangerous. I started antagonizing it and doing things that made Marcia angry. But I felt tremendous guilt. I mean, just tremendous guilt. I'd go to work and I'd just get sick that I couldn't we had no alternatives. I couldn't do anything.
It is a helpless feeling, and also again that scene with the baby, almost taking a flight down those stairs in that walker. That to me really showed there was a malicious intent with what those spirits were doing, and it was it kind of can be comical in some ways, although disturbing when you have cabinet doors open or the drain plug comes out of your bath water and you have to take a lukewarm bath. But when I saw that baby in that walker heading towards the stairs all by itself, that really my heart was in my throat for that one, because then it showed clear intent of malicious behavior.
There was definitely.
There was a strange element in this whole thing. Marcia stopped talking to me for a long period because I was giving her the business. I didn't tell her everything that I was finding out, which I found out from neighbors and rumors and things that I started to acknowledge. Our new tenants came in, Dan and Diane, and we immediately let them live there because they were in the same position we were when we found the building. They had been kicked out. But Diane and Marcia didn't share everything that went on with each other. And Marcia can tell you about that. They had their morning coffee, but they'd avoid talking about paranormal, anything paranormal. Dan was a native Canadian Indian and very superstitious, so Diane, his wife, didn't share anything with him. And all this stuff was going on, and in the meantime, I went to the priest who, wouldn't answer my calls, and I went to the rectory, and I finally acknowledged. I said, okay, there is something happening, but it's going to go away because I'm going to make it go away. And I went to the priest and I told him, you have to bless my house in the rectory. And he gave me the same thing that people started giving us. He refused, and I argued, and he refused, and I had been a Catholic and an altar boy, and I told him, I said, Father, you can't refuse to bless the house. And he said, yes, I can. And he made me angry, and he said, I don't need to bless the house. He said, you need psychological help, you and your wife.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And at that point, at 24 years old, I lost it. And I lambasted him, and the air turned blue. He threw me out. He told me never to come back on church grounds. And I was lost. It was like, where do you go from here? There were no Ghostbusters in those years. And everybody I talked to told me, 90% of them would say they'd use the word just crazy. They were ridicule. It was just ridicule. So, Marcia didn't even...
Yeah, on that note, we're going to take a break because we want to hear the rest of how this worked out. It's a fascinating illustration of what can happen when spirits inhabit your house. Stay tuned. Call in at 646-478-0828. We'll be right back.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are you getting screwed on your property taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the Source. With Cosmic Fusion, the Source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned to this exciting show with Edwin and Marcia Becker. They're relating their incredible story of a house that was haunted that they owned. And we were just talking about the church issue that you had when you went to approach the priest, Edwin.
Yeah, he wound up throwing me out. He told me that Marcia and I needed psychological help, and which just made me crazy. And I started spewing foul language at him, and he threw me out of the rectory. And I didn't know where to go from there, because in Chicago, Catholic parishes are like franchises. So unless you have a personal connection in another parish, another priest won't come into a parish without permission. So given that the pastor of the parish kicks me out, I'm not about to get anybody else to come and help us, so I'm kind of screwed. And I did not know what to do, and that's when our life really started going downhill.
Every day I wanted just to get out of that house. So I would take Christine in the buggy, and we would go down to the church. And I don't know, in my uneducated mind, I thought that would be a safe place. And I didn't really want to go in because, again, I didn't feel welcome, but especially after Ed had his little problem. But I would sit on the church steps, very big old church, and steps were probably a couple of feet wide, so it was nice. And I did this almost every day. And then until I just had to go back and start dinner, or Christine needed to eat or something. And one day, we were sitting there, and I was just had her in my lap, and I was rocking her. And one of the nuns walking by, like they all did, and she stopped. And I sort of looked up at her, and she looked right in my eyes. And she said, "You are not welcome here." And I just started crying. What did I do wrong? And that's all she would say. I didn't even have a chance to ask her why. I think I was so shocked and hurt, really. My feelings were hurt. I thought that, I guess I watched too many movies, but I thought that would be a safe place and somebody would maybe stop and talk to me or something.
When Marcia told me of it, I kind of figured that maybe the nun had witnessed me, cussing at the priest, and you're the wife of that guy with the foul mouth. So I rationalized everything, and but we started hitting a very, very low point, and I started feeling
there's stress on you from all sides. There's pressure from the paranormal events. There's pressure on your marriage. There's pressure on your relationship with your tenants because they're thinking that you're cuckoo or you're stealing their tools or whatever you're doing. I mean, there's pressure coming at you from all sides with this event.
Yeah, and our friends, this is true. We had our friends come over a couple times, close friends, and at that time I would be yelling at Ben, let's say. My friend would call me in the evening. He'd say, what are you doing on the phone all night? I'd say, I wasn't on the phone. Our ghost takes it off the hook. They'd laugh at me, okay? They'd laugh at me. Well, the one I think I described in the book it was just classic. I got to where, it was one evening we were eating dinner, and Paranormal Witness did portray that correctly. And it used to like to open the door between the kitchen and the dining room. And this was an old painted over oak door. This was not a door that would swing open easily. So it had some energy. And it would open the door, and it didn't bother me. You come to, I can't explain it. You come to get used to certain things, and they're not, I didn't find it frightening, aggravating, maybe. And Marcia said, we want the door closed. And I said, let Ben have it open. If he wants it open, leave it open. And she said, no, the baby's going to wake up. Of course, we wound up in an argument. So I said, all right, now I'll fix it. I tied the door closed. Within 5 minutes, the door handle turns and the door starts to vibrate. Now it can't go beyond the string that I tied. And I start making fun of him. I said, Ben, what kind of a ghost are you? You can't break a string, man up, break the string, And Marcia would be crying. She'd say, don't do that. And I would do that. I'd make it perform almost on cue. So we had our friends over one night, and we invited them over, and I told them about the ghosts, and they just said, well, be the same thing I did when I moved in. And I said, watch this. And I tied the door. I closed the door and tied it. And we're playing Monopoly, actually. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this was my blind friend who had ears like a bat. He had radar. He heard the door turn, and I saw his head turn, and then the door started to open and vibrate. And he said, what is that? And I said, it's Ben. And I said, come on, Ben, break the string. And he says, who the hell are you talking to? And I said, the ghost. I said, he's trying to open the door. And he said, Doug, ghosts are a bunch of BS. And he stood up, and behind him was a cabinet that didn't quite reach the ceiling. It was about 8 feet high, and we had 10-foot ceilings. And I had put decorative spindles up there and attached them very solidly. And then Marcia had given me some plants, plastic plants, to make it look like kind of gardenish. One of these spindles came flying over his head, and it slammed on the table. It didn't bounce. And his wife stepped back. My friend said, what the hell was that? And I said, reach on the table. And he reached out and he felt the spindle. Then they never came back. They left, and he still said ghosts. There's no ghosts there. But then they wouldn't come back. And that was kind of the story with all of our friends. we started to be isolated, and I didn't know what to do. And then Marcia and I kind of had just a major explosion because I wasn't telling her everything that I knew. I knew way more than she knew. And I would stay in denial because if I didn't stay in denial, I'd be feeding her fears. And one night she exploded at me and she said, you know, you're watching the telephone, you're sitting in the bathroom watching the bathroom plug, you're talking to somebody who's not there, you're tying the kitchen door, you know, you're changing. And I agreed with her. I said, you're right, I am changing. I was angry all the time. And at that point she said, can I go home? Can I go visit my mother? And how could I refuse? So she did go visit her mother, and this was something that I got choked up with when we did the filming, because once she left, the activity continued. In fact, it escalated just a bit. And I didn't know what to do. It was like, I can't fight it. You know, I can't get rid of it. It scared my wife. You know, I can't protect my family. I was at a very, very low point. And
you were also saying that you were feeling angry all the time, and that Marcia was pointing that out to you as well, that you were an angry man. That's what this was turning you into.
Oh, yeah. No, it's one of the things that I tell people who they'll write me and they'll ask me for advice on certain things, and so many people related to the book. It shocked me. I mean, because the book went all over the world. I mean, I get emails from Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, UK, Scotland. They relate to certain events in there. And a lot of times I'll tell them, you know, when you're looking at a spirit, it depends how sensitive you are, but you'll feel certain things. And one of those things, yeah, you're going to feel goosebumps, or you know, there's certain things that change the temperature is obvious. But if you feel a hot flash, like an instant agitation, that's a sign. And it had me. That was my weakness. I think was my temper, and it made me angry all the time. And now Marcia's gone. You know, I'm by myself. My dog is scared. I think I'm not sure if the dog ran away during that week or not. The first dog. We had two dogs, and they both were terrorized. 42 years later, I found out that Dan also had a dog for 4 days before it got terrorized and left.
So the dogs took off on you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the one dog she was a very loyal dog, too, but one morning I let her out to go do her business in the backyard, and she took off, jumped the 3-foot back gate, and was gone.
I've had enough of this.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
I got a lot of flack out of it because people who read the book, I didn't want to tell the story of how we put up, you know, in those years there was communication, so we put up flyers, and I went looking. But I thought that was kind of boring if I dedicated 2 or 3 pages to me running around doing nothing. But people wrote me and they bawled me out. They said I didn't do enough to get the dog back, you know. And I really did. We tried everything we could to get our dog back. Chicago was a monster city. It was a monster city in those years. There was no chance. And I just decided I'm going to go get...
Let me just also go back to when you were talking about the contact you had with the spirit that was there. At least one of them was getting the better of you, and that you were feeling provoked into anger all the time. I just want to ask you, Helene, because you've done a lot of house clearings, you've done a lot of interaction with families, with hauntings. Is that kind of a normal thing that can be expected, that they can provoke somebody to this kind of anger?
Well, what it really is that the house that they lived in was loaded with ghosts. And ghosts are souls that never cross to the other dimension or heaven or whatever label you want to put on it. And some ghosts are extremely benign. They decided not to leave because they loved their home, or they loved someone in it, or they're afraid, or they felt that they did something wrong in their life that they wouldn't be accepted in heaven. And then there are other ghosts which get more press, which are angry, mentally ill, just like they were on this earth in physical form, and also just pranksters, tricksters. They had bad lives, they had trauma, they had any host of things that any people on earth can have. And what happens is, because their energy is present right on this plane, if they want to provoke people, if they want to make you angry, if that's their vibration, it's very contagious. It's going to hit your system and make you feel horrible and really, really bring you down emotionally. And with Edwin, I have to say, you know, when that thing came near you, or those things came near you, I should say, it just really ramped you up, right? Every time you were feeling it near you, it was like this anger, this sickness, this other person that was emerging, because they're feeding off of that. They're feeding off that vibration. And ghosts today, with so many people involved in paranormal and so many people who are very public with their ability to be intuitive and psychic, do have ways of clearing homes, and it's very public, and you can find lots of people to do it. But it's just really sad that they can disrupt a household to this degree without people really understanding what's going on. And I actually just cleared a house about a couple months ago where the husband did not believe at all, okay? And the wife had to call me on the QT because these things were torturing her small child. And it was just sad. And so I cleared the house for them, and that worked well, and the child was able to sleep in her own bed and stop screaming and stop pointing at people who weren't there, you know, because she was only about 3.5. And so it all stopped. But there is a way to do it now. But I have to say, in 1970, it was a different world, just like you've said, Edwin. You know, this information wasn't way out there, and unless you were really connected to people who were a little bit underground with being psychic or working with energy, there was no way, there was no internet to call on for help, you know. So what do you do?
You're correct.
You reach out. You reach out. And I'm going to take this opportunity at this moment, Patricia, to tell you that during the break I did talk to Edwin and Marcia, because I don't know if you heard it earlier, but there was some heavy breathing on the line.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they reported, I thought it was Marcia holding the receiver too close to her face.
I thought that too.
And so I wanted to tell her, please don't hold the receiver. It shows you how in tune I am when I'm on the radio. But she said, oh, no, that happens every radio show. Something else is doing it. So when she said that to me, I went into my super psychic mode and got rid of it for now. So we haven't heard any breathing since the break yet. But
that is so weird. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and
so
it is
couple
something
shows
really
ago,
negative.
We actually heard it articulate a few words.
Really? On another show?
Yeah.
And so it is some, it is some negative energy that's sort of trailing you, and I will take care of that another time, not on the show. But if you can see that after the break, it's a man, actually.
No, it hasn't. And you see, Marcia, we're still blaming you.
I'm sorry.
That's not good. I apologize, Marcia, because I did think it was you, and it wasn't you.
Yeah, and so when I
40 years ago,
of
40 years ago, I would have said, 40 years ago, I would have said, BS. It's her breathing into the microphone.
So I did take care of it to push it away temporarily, but that's not the full job. So I'm just telling you that right now I'm not expecting it to come back for the rest of the show, but it could. But right now it's pushed back. So we'll take care of that as a separate issue, okay? But,
and do you think that's coming from their connection to this house, or is it something else?
No, it's not from that house. I don't believe
it's not from the house. What it is, and this is something that is not discussed, but I'm going to discuss it right now. What it is when you connect to some of these paranormal shows that are on TV, some of them are staged and some of them are real. And so I don't watch them because when there's something real that comes on, I feel the energy of it, and it's not something I want to connect to. But because they're talking about this stream of energy, this difficulty that kind of attracted a friend.
Oh.
And it's not, I'm not getting that it's bothering you at night or anything like that. It's sort of stepped way back and just having a little fun with the whole issue. That's all.
Oh,
so you're not having
goodness.
any personal problems with this now, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. In fact, Marcia makes rosaries and for all denominations, and I've got more blessed items in this house than the Pope got in the Vatican. So,
that's a good thing.
And we
that
pray a
actually
lot.
helps.
We pray a lot, which wasn't the case in 1970. But she left me, and I wound up in despair. And I mean, it was probably the lowest point in my life. And I went to go get her, and I drove down to Tulsa. I asked my boss for time off. And there weren't gifted people like you, Helene, around to ask for help. It's one of the great things about the paranormal today.
Well, they were there. They were there. It was just sparse and hidden. Okay, you know.
Well, we couldn't find them, and but I brought Marcia back, and I told her one way or another, we're going to find something, and we're going to fix this, because we couldn't get out of it, so we had to stay in it. And Marcia came back, and she did find somebody.
Yeah, I, believe it or not, looked in the phone book. That's, you know. And
I don't think kids today know what a phone book is, Marcia.
That's true. I forget. But I saw two, and I called the first one. And they came over, I think, like that night, or maybe the next day. And they were actually kind of comical. I know they meant well, but they had they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
And they walked around and said, "Oh, this and that, and the house is now clean." And I'm thinking to myself, really? This is just unbelievable.
One thing I knew, there were four of them, and out of the four of them, three of them were more frightened at being in the house than we were.
That's true.
So,
oh boy, that's not helpful.
Yeah, and when they got ready to go, they're standing, doors open. They're standing on the other side of the door, ready to bolt down the stairs. And Ed and I are talking to them and saying, you sure there's nothing else you could do? Oh, no, your house is now clean. Live in peace sort of thing. And nothing is here. And just as they said that, the phone goes flying off the table and slams to the floor.
Wow.
And they looked at each other and ran. See ya, that's it. There's nothing more we can do.
Well, there's one guy that I forever will see in my mind's eye. He looked like Don Knotts, but he had a real bad red toupee, and his toupee went askew. So he had these bulging eyes with a toupee sideways, and he ran out of there. I mean, he ran like hell, and I laughed. I thought it was pretty damn funny. And then Marcia got contact with a group called Psychic Research, I believe. Illinois Psychic Research. And a man came to see us. He's a author today. He's still a prolific author, Tom Valentine, he was a former reporter with the LA Times, and because of a study he did in a mental institution, the paranormal captured him. He found a correlation between people who dabbled in the occult and mental illnesses. Mm-hmm. So he came to interview us, and I mean, he interviewed us. He asked us every question in the book, checked with my employer, checked our refrigerator to see if we had beer or wine, because Joseph DeLouise, the mentalist psychic at the time, had prominence. He had helped locate Tex Watson from the Manson family. So they didn't want his image tainted in any way. So when they decided that, yes, we had activity, they brought in Joseph DeLouise. And my take on it initially was, kind of a non-believer. I wasn't used to people who were gifted at all. I didn't understand it. And my first impression of him was he looked kind of evil. He was Sicilian. He had dark hair and a dark goatee. And he walked in the house and he kind of looked around and he saw our empty dining room and he said, I always remember, he said, "You don't use this room." And I thought, wow, this guy's really psychic, And then he looked in our bedroom and he saw our bedroom and he knew there was only 2 adults and he said, "That's your bedroom," as if he was telling me something. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, God, not again, But his protege was a woman, and she sensed me, and she reached out and she grabbed my hand, and I'll forever remember this. She looked me in the eyes kindly, and she said, "Bullets." Now, no one knew what that meant. Marcia had no idea, and it wasn't in the forefront of my mind, but I had found bullets in the basement in like a little jam jar, and not wanting anyone to get injured because Chicago burned its garbage, I hit them up in the rafters. So I'm a smart ass. I said to her, "Where?" And she looked at me and she said, "They're in the rafters in the basement."
Oh, my.
Yeah, and at that point, okay, now you got me. And they went through the house, and Helene, you're correct. They came up with somewhere around 5 entities. They said family. They thought they were related. One we kind of knew because Marcia and I, it was strange that Paranormal Witness never used it, but one of the most dramatic things that happened to Marcia and I was when we saw an apparition. We saw the old woman, and I had seen her a number of times. And as I tell people today, I find it kind of strange that in this world of paranormal, the stronger the evidence, the more refuted it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when we saw this old woman, had I been able to have a real good camera or an iPhone and take her picture, you'd see a picture of an old woman, solid as you or me,
right,
with a kindly face and kind of sad looking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Joseph DeLouise went through our building, and he said on the first floor, which Marcia and I were kind of aware of, but he said, "There's a real dark energy." And he said, "I'm not prepared to deal with it as a psychic." So he knew of Father Joe Wood at NBC. Father Joe Wood had a radio program. But Father Joe Wood told him, no, the Catholics can't get involved. He could, but he had to have red tape, and he had to fill out applications, and it would take a lengthy amount of time. So he recommended Reverend Derl-Davis, who was an exorcist. And Joseph decided to work with the Reverend, which was a real bad mismatch. I mean, Helene, you can imagine someone who opens their mind working with someone who wants to shut their mind like a brick wall. Mm-hmm. An exorcist faces a demon, and he's prepared to do nothing but pray in his face. Mm-hmm. Not going to listen to him. He's not going to converse with him, and there's going to be no exchanges. Right. Joseph DeLouise, the psychic, was the opposite. He was going to become a medium. So we watched the friction. Marcia and I both watched the friction between them as they decided what their strategy was going to be. I guess Father Joe Wood had told someone at NBC, the station, and the next thing Marcia and I knew is Carole Simpson called us. And much like Paranormal Witness, I didn't want my face on TV. I'd been called crazy enough, told to have my head examined. Marcia's been told to have her head examined. Now they're going to put our face on TV. It's like, no way. But Joseph had a book out called Psychic Mission, and he didn't mind the publicity. He didn't want the publicity, but if it was there, he asked me, he said, could you do this? And he even thought it was educational. And he had spent so much time with us. He was such a kind man. And he continued to long after this was all over, stay with us and stay close to us. I couldn't refuse him. And NBC said, we have to have the owners. So, you can see my face if you watch the YouTube footage. I wasn't real happy. That exorcism lasted 3.5 hours. And if you look at the YouTube footage, right at about the 1.5-minute mark, you'll see a dark doorway in the dining room on the left-hand side. And you'll see the ghost emerge. It starts to come through the door and then backs off. Mm-hmm. And it was so obvious to me because the cameraman had us all behind the camera. There was no one in that part of the house. That doorway had no door on it to hang anything on it. We had a vinyl folding thing. It was 10 feet from a wall. So there was nothing that could have came near that. But you'll see this clear white. You kind of anticipate a woman's robe or a woman coming through in a dress and then backing off. And it made me wonder what else they captured because they had 16 hours of film. And Paranormal Witness is owned by NBC, so we had access to their archives. And guess what? All the film was missing.
What?
All the film was missing, all 16 hours. So what they used at the end of Paranormal Witness was actually what I had salvaged on the DVD. They had a FedEx me an envelope. They gave me the FedEx number, and I had to get it to them. And that was actually placed at the end of the episode, like weeks before it aired.
That's incredible that footage went missing like that. I wonder who took it.
I don't know. And I had two sources. Besides Paranormal Witness and NBC, we have a friend Dan's friend. Dan is in security and surveillance. So he had some friends that could get on the inside. And their answer was the same, that there was no record of it. It was gone.
Very strange.
It's kind of strange because, but there was other things, there's some like Johnny Carson shows and things like that they just didn't save. So it's possible it just got cast away, deteriorated or whatever.
Well, we'll be right back. We're going to take sorry.
That's all right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back with the remainder of this fascinating story. I have a question about that exorcism for you, Edwin and Marcia. So stay tuned.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion. www.kosmicfusion.com to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience?
I have no idea what happened with my little fingers there, Patricia. Sometimes I push the button really hard and it doesn't work, and sometimes I just glide over it and something strange happens.
I know, I've had that happen
as well. It wasn't a poltergeist, it was me.
Okay.
Sorry about that, everyone.
That's no problem.
Wow, this is a fascinating discussion we're having with Edwin and Marsha.
And the name of their book is True Haunting, and it is available on Amazon.com. It's a great read. I highly recommend it. And Paranormal Witness will air on November 6th for those of you who would like to watch the show and see Edwin and Marsha talk about their experience with this house.
Yeah, that episode was kind of a bad luck episode for Paranormal Witness, because honestly, it raised the bar so high, ratings-wise, that they didn't have an episode after they had this season.
Wow!
So this is their last season.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the downloads on that episode were incredible. The emails I got were incredible. I mean, I even had to explain to people that no, we didn't drive away and leave our daughter there, because it shows a scene of Marsha and I driving away. People
That's
actually
right.
wrote me, and no, they didn't find my sister in an alley. She was married. She had 2 children. She did run off exactly like they portrayed, but she went to a cult group. But back to the exorcism. When I released the book, I didn't know how historic it was. But it was the first time that a major network took anything paranormal seriously.
And it was reported as, a news report. That's what I was amazed at, because I did watch that clip, and it was a news report.
Well, it also played, they used it outside of Illinois. The news report was the only thing I was able to get recorded. Outside of Illinois, you probably don't remember, but NBC had a program called First Tuesday, that competed with 60 Minutes initially. It played as a segment on First Tuesday. So other people saw an extended version that we didn't see. We never saw in Illinois. Because as Carole Simpson told us, they played it once in the evening and the whole switchboard lit up like a Christmas tree. So they wound up playing it like over and over for about 4 or 5 days. And
so even
then
people were interested. There was a high level of interest even then. That's great.
Yeah,
but Helene, you had a question about the exorcism for Edwin and Marsha.
I did, because in the just small segment I saw on YouTube of the news report, it seemed as though the medium was being a medium, but it didn't seem like the rest of it was a true exorcism. And you're saying now that it was actually went on for 3.5 hours. So
yes,
did you feel it was a true exorcism?
From what I know of exorcism today, no.
Okay.
Because I've got the Catholic Exorcism Manual from 1950, and it certainly didn't go along with that. But there was also a factor that no one knew, and that was that they attempted the exorcism the night before. Mm-hmm. Now, we did not know that. They had us all leave the building, take all the animals out. Mm-hmm. And they wanted the building to themselves. We didn't know exactly why. But when Marsha and I came home, they looked tired. They looked bewildered. They were not in a good mood. We kind of felt that it became much later in retrospect that we realized that they probably did the exorcism. And what they did, and that day, all you got to do is look at the end of it, and you can see that they don't look victorious.
No.
You know, they look like, you know, a basketball team that got beat by 40 points. I think Joseph was allowed to, I think he did get rid of one of the benign spirits. But what happened was there was this conflict that whenever Joseph tried to, we could see him reaching a level of concentration or mediumship where he'd start to sweat profusely, his breathing would change. And whenever it hit that level, this William Derl-Davis, who had a very commanding voice, English, would say, "Come back, Joseph, come back." They'd yell at him. And he was afraid that Joseph would get possessed. The two philosophies conflict. I mean, they're exactly the opposite. And the two people never worked again. They never worked together again. We stayed in touch with both of them, but Joseph continued on. The last time I talked to him was a decade before he died. I talked to him in the 90s. And when I told him my manuscript might get turned into a book, he wanted to write the foreword. But by the time my daughter convinced me to publish it, Joseph had passed in 2008.
Interesting.
Now what? Go ahead, Helene.
No, I was just going to say that I really felt just from that clip that it wasn't a true exorcism that was carried out. And
at that point, you know, they weren't facing. I don't know what they were facing on the first floor. I mean, now years later, I find out it affected. I saw Myra. Myra was crazy. I knew whatever was there tormented Dan's wife. I certainly know what it did to my sister. She never recovered. And we had some behavior that I didn't put in the book from the tenant that followed. So it seemed like every woman that lived there was affected. And I didn't, you know, today an archbishop, a Catholic archbishop named Ronald Fail, calls it more a demonic oppression than demonic possession. So I don't know that the exorcist had anything to confront. You know what I mean? Yes,
I do. But he's prepared. But what happened, I guess what I'm getting to is what happened to the house? Was it ever cleared, or is it still the same today?
Don't ask me. I mean, in the end, there's another story that goes along with that, but I was able to get out of the building through a miracle. And we put it up for sale. And the salesman who took over and tried to sell it showed it. He was a dynamic salesman, but he showed it 100 times. He couldn't sell it. And he was confused. And I finally told him, you know, it's a haunted house. Now, in those years in 1970, I could have wrote with spray paint on the front of the house, this is a haunted house, and everybody would have thought I was nuts. So I kind of expected he's going to tell me the same thing that everybody else tells me, you know, seek psychological help. Instead, him and his wife were interested in, not the occult, but they were interested in seances and contacting the dead. So he got excited, actually. And he thought maybe I knew of his interest and I was pulling his chain. So he said, you know, if I can verify this with your tenants, he said, let's talk about some way I can get this house.
Wow.
So I called my tenants. I wish they would surface today. But I told them, tell them the truth. And I said, just 100% tell them everything that you've experienced, which they did do. And the real estate man hit me the next day. He said, I want the house. You know, he said, I don't have the cash, because we're talking about conventional loans in those years, 20% down. And he said, I don't have it. And I told him, I said, if there's a way just for me to transfer the responsibility to you, I'm happy. And Illinois did have something called, they probably still do, it's called a quitclaim deed. And for $10 legal tender, I could transfer the whole thing into his lap. And he was happy. So I told him, I said, you can have it, for $10. You can have my $400 escrow. You can have everything in the building. There's some air conditioners downstairs. You can have, I put the picture in the book, and I said, tap, tap, no take backs, and I walked away a happy man. A lot of people say, well, that was unethical. I should have warned him, but it's like, he wanted it. Much like today, I mean, Helene, there's people out there investigating and dabbling in areas of danger.
And it's my firm belief that they have not enough knowledge to do that.
I agree. They
not
have no
everybody,
idea what
of course,
to
not everybody, but a lot, because it's very out in the media right now, so it looks like fun to some people who should do a little bit more research before they go ahead and get involved in that, right, Patricia?
Yeah, absolutely, because as I recall from the book, that this gentleman who purchased the house, he didn't have a happy life afterwards.
No, his life went downhill quickly. There were no Caldwell Bankers or Century 21 national franchises or multi-lists, so there were lots of little independent real estate companies.
Yes.
A couple of years later, when I called him, his company had gone bust. His wife had left him, and he had health problems. And, it was just, it's something that even I see today in investigators. I'm kind of a recluse in that I've only done one book signing in my life and one Paracon, and I did it locally for charity for Shriners Children's Hospital. But at the Paracon, I met a couple investigators, and I could tell they were carrying bad luggage. And when I talked to them about their personal life, well, my husband left me, and this, that, and the other, and I'm losing my job. They don't attribute any of this to what they're doing.
Well, similar to that, I've had calls from people who watch paranormal TV, and they're sensitive and intuitive, and they decided all on their own, and this is not just one person. This is, I think, 3 in the past year and a half, who decided that they could go to the cemetery at night and rescue souls. And they ended up in bad trouble because they didn't quite know how to approach what they were doing with caution and protection. And so it is a dangerous area to tread in. People have to be careful to do all their research and get themselves protected and understand exactly what they're dealing with, right, Edwin?
Well, and not only that, it's I mean, there are people like you, Helene, that have talent, that know what you're doing, that truly can see onto the other side of the veil, and you know what you're dealing with. And so many of these other folks don't know what they're dealing with. They don't have the vision, the inner vision you have. They don't know what they're doing. So it is quite dangerous. And actually, that leads me to my question about your sister, because of everybody that you write about, it sounds like your sister was the one who was most damaged by contact with this house and the entities that were there.
That's certainly the case. I felt guilty my whole life, even though I know she conjured something. They were playing with magic and seances and Ouija boards.
Ooh, in that house?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and we watched her personality change. And my sister was a upbeat person. She had 2 children. She had a big Irish husband who became a cop eventually. And, they were looking forward to building a life. And she went from that to all of a sudden getting highly involved with this group of people who did lit candles and seances and things that I didn't understand, actually, but I forbid, okay, when it was a confrontation that we had eventually was on that subject. But she started to get darker, and then she started to get slightly abusive toward her children and her husband. And then she became, severely depressed. I think Marcia could probably tell you more, because she did interface with her. And she would say things like somebody's telling her to kill herself.
Oh, yeah. just watching her change day to day. I mean, I would go down and try to get her to come up and have coffee and bring the kids. And I always brought the kids back with me and brought them upstairs as much as I could possibly give them. And I would go down there and I would hear talking and laughing and going on. And I walked into the kitchen and I called for the two boys. And it got quiet. So I kind of looked around the corner, and there they were, a bunch of women, and they were sitting around. There was a Ouija board sitting on one side, a candle, and they were very, very serious. And I got the dirtiest looks I've ever gotten in my life. And she actually screamed at me to get out. And I said, well, I'm going to take the boys. And she said, I don't care, get out. So I did. And when Ed came home, you know, I didn't want to sound like I was being a tattletale, you know, or trying to start trouble. She was scaring me. And down there, I started feeling things that I hadn't even felt up in my apartment. And so she actually got very angry at me for telling her brother. And I had a talk with her the next day, and I said, what am I supposed to do? You're messing with things you don't know what you're doing. You have no idea what you're may or may not be able to bring into this house like it needs anything else here.
I mean, Joseph had warned us. He said, don't bring that kind of energy into the house.
Exactly.
He basically gave me rules of behavior that I was adhering to. And when Marcia told me about my sister, I went berserk. I mean, I went downstairs. I told her, give me your candles, your Ouija board. I broke them, everything into pieces. And she accused me of being possessed. And I was so angry. But when she disappeared, she was gone. We had no idea where she went.
Did she take the children with her?
No, she left her children and left her husband. And she went with this. Eventually, she was found in Cicero, Illinois, with a cult-like group. But she never put her life back together again. She never went back to her husband. She didn't actually want the kids. I mean, her husband forced her to take one of the boys, and he took the other. And Marcia and I physically tried to adopt the boy because she was abusing him. She was hitting him, and in one case, she hit him in the face with a locomotive train and gave him stitches.
Oh, my God.
It got really, really bad. But she never recovered.
Were you able to get the boy?
No.
It was
only because of she found out that if she gave us the boy, she lost some kind of wealth. I don't know if they had welfare in those days, but she lost some kind of money she was going to get paid for. And at first she said yes. And I had an attorney draw up a contract, and the contract was real simple. She could see him anytime she wanted, any day, any time, but she could never take him back. Because I felt that if Marcia and I introduced him to a good life, a wholesome life, taking him back would be like going back to hell, you know.
Right.
It's better not to tease him with that. So she wouldn't agree.
What a
and
shame.
Today, he hit his teens. He hit the drugs. He works at a halfway house today. He's had some very, very bad luck. My sister lives as a recluse in a studio apartment. Her lights and radio on her 24/7. She won't see anyone, not her children, not family. When our mother passed away, she wouldn't come to the funeral or the wake. You go to her door and you knock on her door and she'll say, "Go away, demon."
Oh, my goodness.
Everybody's demon. Yeah.
No, she has no phone. And the only way I was able to communicate with her was through the manager of the building. I wrote the manager and had the manager deliver the letter.
Right.
It
was very sad.
Yeah, she went down a very
terribly
dark road.
sad. But she conjured up or actually communicated with one of the most evil of that group named Henry, correct? That's what she found when they started doing the Ouija board work, is the person was not Ben. It was Henry. And Henry
I believe it was
probably I think the one that you thought was locked away in that basement hidden room.
That was my assumption, that whatever he also had residence in the one dark bedroom, because it seemed like everyone who was gifted went to that first floor bedroom and they would say, "Whoa." They would feel it, this energy, and I'm not gifted, so the average person, even though I targeted Ben and said, I never got formally introduced to him, so I don't know really what I was dealing with. And Helene, as you know, some of these investigators will go into a building and they'll know a little boy died there, and they'll say, "Is this Tommy?" And they'll get an EVP and it says, "Oh yes." They have no hell idea who's talking to them.
Well, that's true.
The spirit,
because usually people don't
lie.
stay where they pass. They usually don't.
Yeah, and a lot of these spirits will lie. I mean, you want to talk to a Tommy? Yeah, I'm Tommy.
Yeah, you're right.
They'll play you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons I don't go out. People invite me to all these things, and no, thank you. Been there, did that. I have a high respect for the paranormal. I have more of a respect for the healers, people like yourselves that help people. I don't have that kind of courage. I'm glad some people do.
I got dragged here kicking and screaming, trust me. Not something I stepped into lightly. It's not.
Right.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. Well, it's such a sad story. I mean, I'm glad that you and Masha and your family are fine. But it's a true, I mean, even though the story seems years old now, it's so applicable today. And it's a good illustration of how people can learn from your story and really understand what they might be dealing with and go about it in a good way,
I tried to touch people. Apparently I did, because I get letters from all over the place and emails of some of the occurrences I describe are fairly common, actually. I was surprised to find out how common they are, regardless of what country you're in. There's knockings, there's footsteps, there's voices, there's cabinets or doors that open. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people write me and they say, "We've got this thing just like you said in the book." And I never realized how historic the whole thing was. I mean, you guys probably even know, I've got everybody backdating their resumes now. Because people had, they had the public convinced that paranormal started in 1998 with cable TV. Mm-hmm. And now, out pops my book from 1970, and it's like, uh-oh. I mean, even The Conjuring, they backdated the movie of the occurrences to 1973. They tried to get closer to us,
Yeah.
And I heard one guy on TV, I won't mention any names, but he's 55 years old. And now he walks around saying he's been doing what he's doing for 41 years.
Wow.
So he was 14, that's a bunch of BS, So we kind of upset the world. And, I love the gifted people. Everybody kind of knows that. On every show I've been on, I just admire the hell out of them. I don't like the people who are just out there using it as entertainment, and I think they're playing with fire, and it's ignorant. I'm kind of old school. I'm very opinionated, and I don't mind saying it,
Well, there's a great saying, a great statement from a movie that I can't remember the name of, but what they say is, you don't change the devil. The devil changes you. And
that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of how this is. You walked into this and you were blind to what was going on. Marcia had the feeling all along that something was totally off. But, you walked into this and you were subjected to it. So you know firsthand how powerful this can be and how detrimental it can be. And your poor sister, my goodness, how it damaged her life. That's awful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen in our years, we've always been, I call it closet paraholics, because after the Campbell Street we moved away, we wanted to know what affected us eventually. The first couple of years we just took a deep breath and said, wow, this is great. Then it was like, what the hell did we experience? So we stayed closer to Joseph, and then we met there's a book out he passed away. His name was Olaf Johnson, who was a telekinetic, and he was actually employed by NASA in the 60s. Incredibly gifted man. And I knew a hypnotist named John Lautrec who did regressions. So we started looking at the paranormal and all these different angles, but I never talked about it publicly. When people tried to track us down and stuff, we denied who we were. We didn't want any movie made. We didn't want any documentary. We just wanted to live our lives, and that's who we've been.
What a remarkable story.
In fact,
yeah, it is.
Had my daughter, had my youngest daughter not been my older daughter listens to everything I say. My youngest daughter doesn't listen to a damn thing I say. And when I gave her the book to publish, I said, publish it as Catherine Higdon, as told to Catherine Higdon. And she put it in my name and threw me out there. And I was pretty angry at first. It was like, no, I don't want to be called crazy anymore. I've been there, did that. But what I was surprised by is the paranormal community is just huge, worldwide, and very, very warm.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. They've embraced Marcia and I, and that's been wonderful.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. This has been just tremendous to be able to hear your story firsthand from both of you. And I'm glad Marcia was finally exonerated with that telephone bill.
Yes, me too. God, finally.
You're a powerful woman, Marcia, to stay with that, because I would have left. I'm quite sure of that. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was something to go through. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you both, and please, stay in touch with us, because it sounds like there is more information that you might be writing about it another time. So let us know. We'd love to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
There'll definitely be another book whenever Dan White is emotionally prepared to reveal everything in print that he experienced. And for the audience out there, www.edwinbecker.com. I answer all emails, all correspondence. I love it. So don't hesitate if you have any questions.
That's nice. Very nice.
Thank you so much for taking your valuable time and spending it with us and our audience. Sincerely appreciate it. It's quite a story.
Well, thank you
Helene,
so much for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, Patricia, that is something else, isn't it?
It is. It's so nice to meet people like Edwin and Marcia, who are now able to tell their story without fear of being ridiculed, and and their story is pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to it that I'm sure our audience caught all of the relevance of it tonight. It's a very powerful story.
Well, I see them as teachers, really.
Yes.
People who are willing to put themselves out there to help others understand. It's just great.
And that's what it's all about. Yes.
Well, it's been another great evening, Patricia.
It has, Helene. Aren't you going to miss this?
I will miss it, absolutely. But I'm trying to free up time in all of the little corners that I can. So
I know.
So I love you, Patricia.
I love you too, Helene.
We'll talk to you all next week.
And have a beautiful week, everybody. We will talk to you again soon.